All right, so we are live. Katie, thank you so much for joining me today on the IndieVerse. For anybody who is here watching live, my name is Keelan. Welcome back to my channel. And on the IndieVerse, we talk about all things self-publishing, indie publishing, small press publishing. And sorry, that was just my voice you heard in the background echoing because I like to make sure the stream is actually going live and folks can hear me. And today we have Katie on, Katie Cherry on, and Katie is a published author of many novels. So very, very excited to have you here. And before I get into the questions that I have for Katie today, I would like to remind everyone that for those watching live, feel free to ask any questions you would like. Just pop them in the chat and we will get to them at the end. So it's not, if we're not answering your questions, the answers are coming, don't you worry. So before I get into my questions that I have for you, Katie, I wanted to turn it over to you to give a quick introduction, let us know what you're working on, what you write, and just so everybody knows, you can find all of Katie's links down in the description box below. So with that, Katie, I'll turn it to you.
All right. I'm Katie Cherry. I was trying to think of a pen name at the beginning of my career, and then I ended up marrying into this one, and I was like, oh, that's perfect. So I didn't have to come up with a pen name. I just have a cute name. I write dragon writer books, essentially, at the moment. So that's the main series that I have going right now. There's just one book left. That's kind of a dragon writer series. It's like a portal fantasy. She goes to different worlds, and there's lots of books, but she's part dragon. My other series also has a part dragon main character, so I'm kind of obsessed with dragons. That's kind of my thing.
So, did you read Aragon?
Oh yes, that probably sparked it.
Christopher, Aragon, yes. When I think I just read that at the right age, and I was like, and Christopher Paolini was a teen author, and I was like, I want to be an author. But Christopher Paolini's on YouTube and does YouTube videos, which is kind of fun.
I'll have to look that up.
Sorry, I interrupted you.
No, you're good. I was pretty much done. That's my thing, is dragons.
Yeah, well, I love dragons. We love dragons here. So feel free to talk about dragons as much as you want. So my first question for you is kind of just a general question that I ask everybody, but tell us a little bit about you and your writing, maybe how you got started. Like, what is Katie's origin story?
It's a little bit of a long one.
That's all good. I'm here for the stories.
All right. Well, so it started back like before elementary school when my mom was like, I was a first child, and so basically an only child for a while, and so she started like teaching me how to read really early on. So I was like so far ahead of everybody else all through school, and I ran out of books to read in middle school. I had read everything that I wanted to in the school library, in the city library, and I was just out of books to read, and I was at a loss for a little bit. And then I saw a thing for what's called a Young Writers and Artist Fest, which I ignored for a while because I was like, I am no artist. My stick figures are bad. So I ignored that for a while. But then one day I was looking at it and I was like, writer, that's the other end of reader. Maybe I can try that. And so I did. It was just supposed to be like a short story, but I ended up getting 7 chapters into a novel by the time the thing came around. So I read one of the chapters and they were like, wait, you wrote a novel? I'm like, well, it's not done yet. I'd finished it in high school, and it will not see the light of day until it gets a complete rewrite. Super cliche, that whole thing. And then I started on Zulfiria, which is now Crystal Dragon, the first book in my current series that just has 1 book left. That is my origin story. I just started writing.
That's so exciting. It's funny how you had that like epiphany moment where you're like, wait, reader, writer. That makes sense. Yeah. I think everybody's got, it's so funny like hearing different origin stories from different authors because they're all kind of different. Like some folks knew right away, they're like, I'm going to be an author. And then some folks are like, it wasn't until I was, in my adulthood where I was like, this is something that I want to do. So no, it's super, super interesting to hear. One of the things that I'm always curious about, outside of somebody's origin story, is also their writing schedule, because I personally don't write every day. So I'm curious as to what kind of your method is when it comes to writing.
I also do not write every day.
No way, that's so fun.
I've tried so many times to write every day, and it's just some days you just can't.
Yep.
So, and sometimes most days you can't.
I hear that.
So I did try to start doing better with that, though. I joined For the Words. For anybody who hasn't heard of that, it's it's kind of like a game that you play by writing. You just write 444 words a day, and then it keeps your streak going, and then you unlock angel wings and stuff. And so I wanted to get those angel wings. So I was going to write 365 days in a row, which is a lot. I got like halfway there, and then I realized I could patch my streak, and that it ruined it. But I got like half of a year of actually writing every day, which was awesome.
How much could you patch? Like, how did the patching work? You had to, like, if you wrote more words, you could patch a previous miss?
I wish it worked like that. Because some days I wrote like thousands. No, it's just, you just have to log in, and then you can patch it for free that day. But if you miss a day, it takes in-game currency, essentially, which if you run out, takes real money currency to buy. So it helps it keep you from doing it too much.
That's so fun. I've never heard of that before. I love gamification of things, so that's super fun.
Oh yeah, it was great. Now I just kind of write whenever I feel like it. For as long as I can stand.
Yep, pretty much. I actually schedule like writing days, and I'm like, today I'm gonna do nothing but write for like 15 hours, and that's like pretty much what I do. And then I don't write for like 2 weeks. So 2 weeks is an exaggeration, but
oh darn! And here I thought you were like me.
no, I used to go 2 weeks. I used to go like a long time. Now it's like I'll do one super scheduled writing day that's like all day, and then I'll have maybe, because I do writing sprints, and those have helped me become more regular with writing. So other than your schedule, what are some tools that you have used or would use to kind of like improve your craft? Do you read any craft books, or is there any type of thing you could suggest? So just to give some context, a lot of folks who watch my channel are either new or aspiring authors, or authors who are just getting started, like myself. I'm just getting started. So it's always great to know from somebody who's, pushed out, how many books is it now? 8? 9? 10? It's always great to learn from the folks who have 10 books out. So
4 of them are novellas, so
that's okay. Still counts. Yeah, so I guess to you, what are some tools that you would recommend to improve craft?
Reading is basically all I do, is just binge read.
Yeah.
I have bought some craft books, but I haven't had time to read them yet. Because I either don't write because I'm sick, or I'm writing. So when I'm sick, I don't want to read about writing. So I just never have time to read my craft books. But I'm going to once I finish this series, and I'm hoping that will level me up even further beyond just devouring the entire city library.
Yeah.
That's basically it. The more that you read, the more instinctive your writing becomes. You understand, you make a new paragraph when a new character is speaking. It's just something that on some level you just understand. So I don't know. That's the main thing. It's just read.
For sure. I definitely think I agree with you that at some point it like becomes a little bit instinct, even if you don't necessarily know the exact rule. It becomes like a pattern recognition. At this point, you like at point X, you do Y, or something like that. This is a total aside question, but I adore libraries. When I go and do my like little scheduled writing days, I normally go to libraries. So I have a question for you. Are you a paperback kind of person or an ebook kind of person?
Both.
Okay.
I like the convenience and having hundreds of books on me at once with my Kindle. But you just can't pass up a paperback.
I was just curious because I know libraries do ebooks now, but I love them for the paperback.
Yeah, if I was to go to the library, definitely paperback, unless it happened to be out and I couldn't wait and it was available as an ebook, then I would get the ebook. But
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Ebooks have just like you said, made it like hundreds of books on your Kindle. That's so cool. So as a author who has published many books, if you could pick, maybe this is not a fair question, but if you could, what is the most important skill that you think a writer needs to master when they are kind of learning the writing craft?
just dedication to it, because especially your first book, it's going to need so many revisions and rewrites. Like, I thought mine was all right, but every time I write a new book and I go back at and look at it, I'm like, oh, this needs a rewrite. So I might do that by the time I finish the series, just go back and rewrite the entire series. Don't tell Fallbrandt Press that. My current publishers, they're helping me out just with like marketing stuff. So I'm still an indie publisher, but yeah, once we're done with their thing, I'm probably going to go back and rewrite it one more time so I can feel really proud of it, because it's good enough to publish, obviously, but you just kind of obsess over it being really good. But anyway, that was a little bit of a divergent there. Just, yes, dedication, because the more books you write, the better your craft will get as well. So you want to be able to write a bunch of books. Don't get stuck on just one book. That's just, it's not going to help you.
I totally get you with the rewriting thing. Like this book is not that old. It's not even a year old, and I still open it sometimes and I'm like, oh, I could have done that better. And like, anyway, yeah, totally get that. But dedication, that's a great piece of advice that I think everybody wants, not everybody wants, but I like to think of myself as dedicated. And then sometimes I like catch myself doing things where I'm like, this isn't a side that's not really necessary. And you need to kind of like recenter and refocus yourself. So yeah, dedication for sure. So you mentioned Fallbrandt Press. So on the IndieVerse, we talked to self-published, indie published, like traditionally, but at like small presses. So I was curious, like, what has your publishing journey been? Self-publishing, traditional publishing, and what kind of are you thinking of in the future, I guess?
Well, I did apply to traditional publishers in like high school, and unsurprisingly, looking back, they said no. So I started looking into indie publishing, and so I went that route, which was honestly so much better, because I discovered later that traditionally published authors, there we go, do about the same amount of work, but for a huge like cut of profit and like creative control and everything. And I was like, wow, okay, never mind. I'll just do it myself. And luckily I found the Facebook group 20 Books to 50K.
Yes.
There is no better thing out there for an indie author. I wish I found it before I started publishing, because I published my first two books in this current series, and yeah, I didn't know about rapid releasing. I didn't know about pre-orders. I didn't know about anything. So it was kind of a mess, and I wish I could go back and like do it all over again, which I kind of am with Fallbrandt Press. So that's the next thing, is I was just working on it myself, and I was struggling because I can't afford to do marketing and ads.
Mm-hmm.
I've tried, and it just ate my money. So I'd stop. But Jeff Kahanick and Michael, I always forget his last name because I know so many Michaels, but Jeff and Michael, they came to me. They're like, hey, we're going to start up this thing called Fallbrandt Press. Basically, it's just helping indie authors with their marketing. And I was like, yes, that's exactly what I need. So they're basically like doing the publishing side for me, just putting it on Amazon and then running ads. And then I'm still doing the writing and everything, and we work together, and Michael arranges stuff like this, where I do interviews and stuff. So it's been really interesting. I like this different side of indie publishing where it's even less in my hands and going much better.
Well, that sounds, yeah, it sounds so interesting. And yeah, there's so much you can do in the indie publishing space. And I totally agree. When I kind of approached publishing, I was in a very similar, like, the control is nice. You get to write what you want. You get to make it look how you want. The marketing side is rough, but 20 books to 50K is gold. I remember when I found it, I was like, oh my goodness. And there's some, like, not some, there's plenty of indie authors out there doing extremely well for themselves.
I think that's the best part about 20 books is that I can see so much success, and I'm like, I'll get there eventually. They're proving it every day.
So much success on there. Sometimes it's a little overwhelming because it's like you just want to fast forward to the point that some folks are at. And yeah, the numbers on there are astounding, like absolutely astounding. For anybody watching right now, if you haven't checked out 20 books to 50K on Facebook, highly recommend. Also, just a reminder to anybody in the chat, if you do have any questions, let us know, and we will be getting to them at the end. So please feel free to pop those in there. So the next question that I had, and you kind of already told us about your publishing journey. So my question to you is, what tips would you have to somebody who's about to dive into publishing?
Well, first of all, join 20 books to 50K. They couldn't tell you everything else from there. But I would write more than one book before you look to start publishing, because again, the rewriting thing, and also there's so many like publishing strategies like rapid release where you want to not have years between your books or even any kind of irregularity between your releases. You could do every 3 months or whatever, but it just needs to be set up in advance, which is much easier if you have at least 2 books written. So I recommend that.
Yeah, the things I wish I knew as well. Rapid release, I knew it was a thing, but like even just the schedule is so that people know when to expect your next book. Yeah, for sure. What is your favorite part about being a writer?
The fans, especially the young ones. I got to meet a couple of my young readers. They were very, very excited. There was one that was very introverted and acted like she didn't care, but her family was like, she loves these books, and the book was very well loved when she brought it to get it signed. So that's the best thing, is meeting those young readers and finding out that I helped them learn to love to read, because that was my main thing when I first got started, was kids don't love to read, and they should, because it's amazing.
Yep.
So that's my favorite part, is being able to create that in people, just create a love for reading.
That's so amazing. And oh my gosh, the fact that you got to meet some young fans, that's so fun. Was that at a live signing or something like that?
Yes. And then the other one, her dad was a Patreon supporter of mine. And so one of my things was that they could create a character in one of my books. And then we were talking and we found out that they're pretty nearby. So I actually went over to their house to discuss creating a character with their 13, 14-year-old. And so I got to meet her, and she was really excited, and she was like a mini me. And I was like, this is amazing.
That is like the best story ever. Oh, that's so fun. I should have linked your Patreon down below. But that is so, oh, that's so fun. So again, total side note question. How many characters have you come up with your fans?
With my fans, just that one.
That's amazing. That's so cool. What an awesome experience. All right, so I only have one last question for you, Katie. Again, thank you so much for joining. I'm going to let everybody know because we do have live viewers right now. If you have any questions, please let us know in the chat. But my last question for you is, if you could give your past self one piece of advice the day before you hit publish on your first book, what would it be?
I would advise myself to write the entire series before trying. And get it all edited and save up for the book covers because they are so expensive, especially once there's 7 books.
Yeah.
It adds up really quick. Yeah, I would just have it.
Stunning.
Sorry.
Oh, I was saying your covers are stunning.
Thank you. They are expensive. They're actually like mid-range price, but oh, it gets up there. Yeah, but I would get the whole series and everything just finished, and then there's like no stress of trying to hurry and finish. Then you can go back and add more foreshadowing if things took a turn you weren't expecting, which mine always do. Yeah, that's what I would have done. Just like calm down, finish, then publish.
Mm-hmm. So I have a quick, and I know I see some questions popping up in the chat, but I do have a quick question. Would you write the entire series and then go back and edit the entire series, or would you write, edit, write, edit, write, edit?
Both, probably.
Okay.
Edit each book and then edit the series.
Pardon?
I'd probably edit each book and then edit the series.
Okay. That's interesting. Okay. I was curious as to what approach you would take. So there's a bunch of questions in the chat here. So Danya's asking, how do you find out more information? So you're with Thalbrand Press. So I don't know, Katie, I could turn it over to you because I think Danya's asking, I think this question popped up when we were chatting about the like publicity and how they're helping you now with like doing ads and all of that stuff. So I know they have a website, Dania. So you could go to their website. I think you could just Google Thalbrand Press and they would come up. But I don't know if you have something to add.
Well, as far as I'm aware, they are the only organization like that. Everybody else is like Vanity Press. They like take they're basically just a small traditional. But Thalbrand Press is just a couple of indie authors helping more indie authors. And they started it because we don't really like how traditionally published people do things. They don't take anything off the top. They just take 50% of royalties. And so it's like, all right, so they're invested because if my books don't make it, then neither of us makes any money. But as far as I'm aware, they're the only one that do that. But if you wanted to look into applying to their thing, I don't think they do any series shorter than 5 books. I think it needs to be finished. I think they learned from me that it's just easier to have a finished product before starting.
But that's typical of any like all the publishers want. Well, I guess not finished series. Normally, a publisher might take on 1 book and then okay. So they want the finished series, like have it all drafted and ready to go. Yeah,
or at least somewhat close. But they want at least 5 books because they heavily market the first book, so they need read through to make their money.
Yep.
So, but yeah, just look on the website for how to apply and rules and stuff.
All right, Sharon is asking, are you a plotter or a pantser?
That's a fun question because it seems straightforward, but it's not. I used to just be a pantser, and then my series got really complicated, and so I had to start planning, but my books still take the reins half the time. So it's kind of both. I kind of just plot out whatever I need to know and then just kind of follow my characters from there, which is fun. I'm glad. I think I found a balance, more or less. I probably will do more plotting in the future for other series so that I can know what's happening from beginning to end instead of just going, oh, she goes to a magical world, let's see what happens. And then it turns into 7 books and I'm like, what?
I love that. Let's see what happens. Boom, 7 books later.
Yeah.
So I guess this kind of works as a really great follow-up question. So Renee is asking, if you outline, what is your process like?
Well, first I kind of outline just things that is going to need to be in there. Like, I know that I'm going to need this scene where she talks to this prince, or I know that she's going to be looking for her brother, and so I just make this bulleted list of everything that needs to be in the book. And then I kind of make it chronological, and then I make sure that I hit every character's arc, because sometimes I forget characters because I have so many now. So I kind of list out my characters, make sure that their arc is still progressing, and then kind of write out some beats for each arc. And then again, make it in chronological, make sense order, and then I divide it into like chapters for where it's going to go. That was probably a lot, but that's how I do it.
No, that's great. I think it's super interesting to hear how people plot or don't plot. Totally feel you with the characters. So many characters. It ends up just being like, wait, who's doing what when? I personally always seem to have I generally, when I start a story, have the end very clear in my mind. And then I forget to get characters there. And I'm like, oh crap. Dania is asking, how long did it take you to finish each book?
That's a good question. The first book took me 2-ish years in high school, but that's pretty much all I did because I was an introvert, and so I just sat at home either reading or writing. So since then, it's still been about 2 years or less. It's been quicker with each book. This last book, with the actual days of writing, took me 28 days, but it took me like a month and a half because I have a lot of days that I can't write. My books are long, so I know a lot of people can write in under a month, especially because I've seen that 20 books to 50K, people write in like 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and it's insane.
That group is crazy. There's people who have massive sales figures and they're like, oh, I've got 112 books out, and I'm like, whoa.
Yeah, and I've been an author for 3 years, and I'm just like, what?
Yeah.
And not that fast. Usually takes 3 to 4 months from like finishing the last book to finishing the next book. We'll go 3 to 4 months.
No, that's awesome. That's a great schedule. I wish I was on that schedule.
Well, I'm just married and don't have any kids yet, so.
Yeah, me neither. The authors who end up pumping out massive word counts who also have kids, I'm just in such admiration of.
Yeah.
So the next question, and everybody, this is last call for questions. Please put them in the chat if you do have them. So the Quiet Adventurer is asking, I'm 17, almost 18, and want to self-publish my first book. Should I wait to get an actual job before I self-publish? So the Quiet Adventurer, I'm assuming this is like a job outside of publishing, I guess.
I would, at least enough to save up for book covers, and you can look into that now for the artist that you like, and how much they cost, and then also editing. And then once you have the money saved up for that, I don't see why not. You wouldn't be able to just go ahead and self-publish. Again, I would join 20 books to 50K, so you know what you're doing before you start, instead of just going into a blind like most of us do and trying to pick up the scraps later on for years. That's awesome. I think I first started publishing at like 1920, so you're on a roll. I'm excited to see your book.
Oh, amazing. Yeah, I love the Quiet Adventurer. Congratulations, that is awesome. I love hearing about teen authors. That is so cool, because that was my dream and I was not a teen author. So but also, yes, congratulations. I'm also just going to echo the advice that save up for the cover, save up for any expenses, basically, because you do not want to be putting that on a credit card, because that will stick with you for a while.
A while.
Yeah. But yes, huge congratulations on finishing your book. That's so exciting. So Katie, thank you so much for joining today. Really, really appreciate it. And also, just so everybody who's watching knows, I was having connectivity issues with my internet on Tuesday. I was not at my house, so we weren't able to do this interview. So I also want to thank you, Katie, for your flexibility, because I really appreciate it. I was just like, it was like an hour before and I was scrambling and I was like, it's not working. Zoom hasn't been working all day. And I was having a panic, like a freak out. So thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, they worked better anyways, so.
Awesome. I'm glad to hear. Thank you so much to everybody in the chat who asked your questions. Katie, again, thank you. And before we sign off, I'm going to turn it over to you to promote whatever you want to promote. And yeah, just turn the mic over to you.
Okay. I would have had like my paperbacks ready to show if I was going to be promoting, but so my main series, the one that has one book left that I will be writing, it'll probably release in November, like mid-November. That's what we're planning for, and then that series will be finished. So now is a good time to jump on with book 1, or there's a combo set of books 1 through 3, and it's called the Crystal Dragon Saga. So if you wanted to look that up, it's a young adult coming of age dragon fantasy thing with a strong female character. And then I also have a completed trilogy of novellas, so just nice 1 to 2 hour bite-sized stories, and that's finished, and you can get the whole trilogy for just $3 right now on Amazon. It is just called the Dragon Blood Trilogy, and then just look up Katie Cherry in case it's not coming up, and you'll be good. I think that's it. Book 6 in the Crystal Dragon Saga actually released yesterday, so
congratulations. Oh, that's so exciting.
Thank you. So if you read really fast, you can actually be among the first to read book 6, which is really exciting because it's your first look at the big bad guy that's trying to destroy the realms. So.
Ooh. Oh, that's so exciting. I'm definitely going to have to dig into these. And just so everybody knows, again, all of Katie's links are down below, including the link to Katie's Amazon page. So description box down below, click on that link and go grab those books. Katie, thank you so much again for coming. I really appreciate it and taking the time. Thanks to everybody in the chat. And we'll see everybody on the next episode, which is on next Tuesday. All right. Bye, everyone.
Thank you.